大家好, this is part 2.
Oh, I'm fine.
Hiya. We've not changed. I know it's been a week.
Was it really a different day? I mean, check the weather on the last video and everything around here, like how much this tree has grown. Is it any different?
So last week we were talking about cultural differences, basically Eastern and Western cultural differences. We learned about each other. We thought it would be good to share some of these with you. So, so one thing we've noticed, obviously nowadays a lot of people are talking about revisiting brands, consumer brands, and whether they have racist connotations to them and things like that. So in Hong Kong there is a toothpaste, and it used to be called Darky, okay, and it basically had a black man as the image of the toothpaste, and the Chinese translation was "hat yan na gou," so basically it meant dark man toothpaste, right? So eventually they changed the name from Darky to Darly, right? You can understand why they changed
the English name. So they changed the English name.
They changed the English name. You can understand that. They never got rid of the picture, but they changed the name. But they never changed the Chinese name. So obviously in Hong Kong, everyone who uses it and speaks in Cantonese would still call it "hat yan na gou," which means dark man, right? Dark person. So yeah, I definitely feel like it's weird that they changed the English name, but they never changed the Chinese name.
And
strange.
I can remember when I first went to Hong Kong, in 2001, seeing the original name, like seeing that toothpaste in the bathroom and thinking, what?
A lot of people use the toothpaste as well. So, and obviously English equivalent is the Robertson jam, right? Because the Robertson jam for a very long time had the golly doll.
Yeah.
And obviously they dropped it. They dropped it apparently like in the 2000s.
Yeah, I can remember growing up that. So when I was really young, you would buy this jam or whatever, and there'd be like tokens that you cut out and keep and send off, and you would get one of these dolls. And I think you're right. It was after I'd grown up, maybe in the 2000s, that it was kind of like, yeah, this image is not really, it's not really good.
It's not good for for today, for the modern world.
Yeah.
So yeah, they dropped it. They understood and they dropped it, right? And I'm not sure exactly the history behind how it came about, but yeah. So that's kind of the British equivalent. So we talked about sayings, everyday activities as well, actually. So I found out, and I only found this out when I went on school trip, is that, like for instance, in the morning when you go for breakfast, I always brush my teeth before breakfast, and that was the way I was grown up. I was brought up at home. But I found out that all my friends brush their teeth after breakfast. And then, so this was something that I only found out, like I said, on a school trip. I was 9 years old.
And that's when I was growing up, I used to brush like afterwards, because you would think, well, I'll eat something, and then because I've before I go out in the day, I'll go and brush my teeth so nice and fresh. But then I think it was after we'd been together for so long, and you said you did it before. And then maybe I went to the dentist one time and they said, you know what, it'd be a good idea to do it before. And then
so now this is where Ross has adopted my culture.
I've adopted your yeah.
He's integrated. Yeah.
I mean, usually
assimilation complete.
I guess usually there's compromise on things, but with that it's like
Whatever,
it's a binary choice. It's one or the other.
Whatever makes sense. Yeah. Another thing is that people have showers before they go to bed in my culture, whereas I think in yours people tend to have showers after, when they get up in the morning.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a morning. But again, I've adopted yours.
Yeah. Because you want to be clean before you go to bed.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know.
I no longer remember the before. I only know the now.
Yeah. Another one that's really throughout Asia really is when you go into someone's house, you take your shoes off. And in a lot of households, they'll actually have slippers for you as well. So you don't have to feel like, you either go around barefoot or in socks. But here, I've noticed that people don't really mind that if you walk into someone's house, you're walking in your shoes, and so I compromise with Ross on this because it's a shared house. So if people aren't used to it, I don't necessarily force them to take their shoes off. But I do have slippers in the house for anyone who wants to take their shoes off.
I think, yeah, the thing of going in someone's house and not taking them off. Here, it's more like you would go in and ask and say, "Oh, would you like me to take them off?" So it's almost like the default is you're not. It's assumed you're not, but then you're. Take 98.
Sorry, we had some technical difficulties.
I think we're there now.
So we'll just end with one more. So the term yeet hay. So this is something that is like a whole new concept to you, right? Before you met me, you didn't know what yeet hay was.
Yeah, so yeet hay, I learned, is like if you eat spicy food or fried food or crisps, maybe some junk foods, and even some fruits. They have this thing that called yeet hay,
Hot air.
And it gives you, well, not necessarily me. This is what we'll talk about, but it gives you like ulcers and
mouth ulcer or
mouth
bad
ulcer.
breath or spots.
Yeah, all the nice stuff.
All those kind of things. So you've never suffered from yeet hay, right? Do you feel like you've ever?
No, I
suffered?
mean I've had mouth ulcers, but when I say I've had them, I could probably count like on nearly on two hands how many I've had. But
yeah.
so, and that's like eating. You could eat anything almost. And
So this is the thing. It should be a global concept, but the fact that it doesn't affect you, it just means I think
and not just me. I mean, like. How many people you could say that we eat? Okay, yeah, it is a bit, isn't it? I think I'll join you in doing that. Like, let's just say, how many white people would ever like recognise this yeet hay of like, oh yeah, come to think of it, when I have like crisps
too much
or
fried food
I get
or
ulcers
junk
afterwards.
Food.
Yeah.
So
is it a DNA thing?
I don't know. Maybe it is.
I mean,
or everybody's
it's not
body got the constitution is different.
It's not like even doctors would talk about it here. It's not like it's a known thing. I genuinely, when you mentioned it, that's the first time I'd ever heard about it.
But I believe it's true because it happens to me.
I believe it. I see it.
Right, you know that
It's
after I
just
eat a packet of crisps, I will get a mouth ulcer.
Yeah.
And that is yeet hay. And that's
like when you buy that packet of crisps and eat it, you're like almost entering into a contract of, look, I know it's going to be yeet hay. I'm going to have an ulcer. How much do I want the crisps versus how much am I willing to suffer the yeet hay? And it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
And like clockwork, that ulcer appears.
Yeah. I don't know. It's very strange.
It is.
But basically, it's about the body being out of kilter. So your body is meant to have a balance, and if anything's out of balance, then it impacts you negatively. So certain foods will do that, or drinks. And obviously, if you have too much of that type of food or drink, and that causes an imbalance to your body, then you'll have a negative effect. And other foods and drinks can counter that, so can bring the balance back to your body. So that's the concept.
Is this where you have like the cooling?
Yeah. So if your body has too much heat,
is it the?
So if you're
cooling?
too yeet hay, you have too much heat, then you want cooling stuff.
Yeah.
And so there's loads of stuff out there, food-wise, that is meant to bring the body into balance, and that's just part of like, I don't know, it's like an accepted thing in Hong Kong.
Yeah, I was going to say it's
right?
an old ethos behind it, whereas
like everybody just accepts it.
Here it's just like that's not even talked about at all. Like,
well, you have nutritionists and dietitians, don't you? So they will talk about.
But it's not like big in society. Like every family, if I go to Hong Kong, every family would know about yeet hay, right? It's a thing. It's a daily part of life, right? That sort of thinking about the type of food that would affect it, and maybe the best counter active to it.
So barbecues are yeet hay, hot pots are yeet hay. So actually, when people have those type of things, they already have drinks ready that are meant to be cooling drinks to counter the yeet hay that you're going to go into by having a barbecue or having a hot pot.
And what, when I said earlier there was a fruit that is
Lazy. If you eat too much lazy, it's hey.
yeah, that
And there's other things as well. Damp things that create damp in your body as well.
great damn.
Yeah, there's all sorts. It's not
See,
just that one.
It's
like,
amazing because I could understand like fried food how it would affect it, just because you think, oh, it's going to be a little bit unhealthy, but then
I think everything in
fruit.
moderation is good. Anything
Mm.
anything excessive of one type of food is bad for you. So even though fruit is good, if you eat too many mangoes, for instance, it's bad for you.
Mm.
So I think that's just a general thing. Anyone can understand that, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's something. And my mum and I would always argue because also when you get older, you're meant to have less cooling foods because your body changes and you can't necessarily withstand cooling foods anymore. So whereas when you're young, you can. So my mum and I would always argue about what to cook and things like that because she would say she can't stand certain types of foods because it's too cooling, whereas I want to eat those type of foods.
Does that mean then that theory? So if you're getting older, you can take more hey food.
I don't know, but
Like-
you definitely can't take more cooling foods.
No, but it makes you wonder. Like, would somebody get less hey if they're older? On that
I don't
that
know.
theory of that,
No idea. I'm not an expert, unfortunately, in this.
No, we're not an expert in anything really, are we? We're just
Yeah.
bumbling along.
Okay, well, I'll just leave at that. If you have any other kind of cultural
And I'm
things,
sure there are many.
yeah, like something that you feel that you want to share, just leave a comment. It's also nice to know. Yeah, so leave a comment and we'll see you next time.
Hachi joikin.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.